Hello, this is Dylan, and I am going to talk about 3 memorable experiences from my time in Japan. Not that every experience wasn't memorable, but these just hit in a different way. Shortly after our journey into Japan, we made our way to our hotel to settle in before Wyatt and I headed back out to meet up with my friend Brian at an izakaya to get some food and drinks. His girlfriend Sammy showed up at the end of our meal, and she wanted to take us somewhere special. Finding the right place online, we made a short walk to a hookah lounge where she threw the door open and in Japanese yelled, "Where are all the pretty women at?" Everyone inside stared our way and watched silently. Sammy was definitely embarrassed after that. We were seated, and then our hostess asked us some questions that, being in Japanese, we weren't sure how to answer. Brian and Sammy informed her that we spoke minimal Japanese and that they could help us with translating. She apologized and then asked our names before having us order a drink and a shisha flavor for our hookah. All through my two friends' translations, our hostess told us a story about how the succubi of the lounge came to be, played a few games with us, and carried on small talk about our travels to Japan. Our main host just kept apologizing that she couldn't communicate with us any better. She definitely wanted us to know that she could introduce herself, but that was all she knew. All in all, that was our first night. It was a great start for the rest of our trip. I think this memorable experience fit well with the theory of accommodation because our hostess used our friends to be mediators to bridge the language gap, but still be able to entertain the whole party. I think the experience would have been very different if Wyatt and I went to the same location but used translator apps the whole evening. Moving on to Hiroshima, on our second day there, I was waiting up in the guest area of our hostel to work on a small project, and I was talking with Mel. Then, the guy on the couch asked us about what we were doing in Japan and where we were coming from. When I told him we were from Washington, he got all excited, said he was from the Seattle area. I started conversing with him about our class and where we had been. He introduced himself as Kai and that this was the second half of his adventure. He started over in China, did about a month there, and then flew over to the southern part of Japan to make his way north before flying home. After a few more people from the class showed up, we decided we were going to go drink on the roof and invited him along. Kai, Wyatt, and I went to the convenience store to buy some alcohol and then back to the hostel's roof to hang out with the rest of the class and also to learn more about Kai. He had told us he broke his phone, that his new one didn't have his normal phone number, and that he really couldn't get access to most of his apps because of two-step verification and it being tied to his other phone. So we found that we could add him on Snapchat and hopefully talk to him later when we all made our way to Kyoto, because he was going to be there the same time for the Gion Festival that we were also there. Our situation relates back to class because of minimal group paradigm. The fact that we were from Washington, both English speakers, attracted Kai to joining in conversation and opening up to us, even if it was only for one night. We also learned about his job in Seattle, why he was taking the time off to travel, and the terrible weather he had experienced in the southern parts of Japan because they had just gone through a typhoon and some other bad weather. Kyoto was fun, but it was also where I had the most issues. On top of losing my rail pass right when we got to our hotel, a few days later I left my backpack out by the river. That included my expensive earbuds, my Wi-Fi adapter, and most importantly, my passport. About an hour after leaving the river one night, I made it back to my hotel room and realized I had left my backpack in the clovers. I made my way back to our spot and saw that it was gone. I was freaking out. I found a group of English speakers that were pretty close to where we were hanging out and asked if anyone tried to bring them my backpack. They said no, but they did point me to the nearest Koban. When I got there, there was no one on duty at the location, but there was a phone left out. I picked up the line and asked for English. The officer on the other end accommodated and helped me with my issue by sending 2 officers my way. After about 10 minutes of waiting, they showed up and one of them spoke English to help me identify my belongings. His expressions while I named off my individual belongings were great and goofy, but they're hard to describe. He informed me that they have a backpack with similar items, but I had to go with him to the other Koban to find to confirm and identify my stuff. On the walk over, he asked why I was in Kyoto, if I was part of the gaming convention that had just concluded, and about school and the class I was taking. Our conversation continued on until we reached the other Koban, where I identified my backpack and claimed it with my passport photo. There was some paperwork I needed to fill out. The second officer that was with us, who didn't speak any English, had me sit and sign for my stuff. The officer who walked me over helped with the translating and filing of the documents. This encounter was very important to me and memorable because I was very scared of losing my passport in Japan. I can relate this situation back to class because of how the officer showed mindfulness towards my situation and fears. He knew I was a tourist and stressed out about my backpack. He used basic English and asked common questions to keep me from worrying, and he was respectful and helpful until my belongings were back in my hands. Whoever brought my backpack to their safety, I really wish I could thank them. And interactions I made across my 2 weeks in Japan, I'd have to say these 3 were the most memorable. It was a great course, I had a ton of fun, and I'm eager to go back to Japan again. Thank you.